The Galactic Concourse of Concordance had endured supernovae, civilizational extinctions, and the televised execution of gods, but it had never gone quiet like this. 5,000 species occupied the vast amphitheater of floating rings and gravitic platforms. Silicon intelligences pulsed in latticed thought. Hive minds whispered through pheromones. Old empires sat swollen with arrogance, young ones trembling with borrowed power. The air shimmered with translation fields, converting screams into etiquette and threats into policy. At the center stood a human. He was unimpressive by every galactic metric. No natural weapons. No armor plating. No radiant bioluminescence. Just a man in a black diplomatic coat, posture straight, hands folded behind his back as if he were attending a funeral rather than standing before the most powerful political body in the known universe. Which, in a way, he was. Proceed, clicked High Arbiter HFY Rarval of the Valorian Dominion, his triple mandibles flexing in open contempt. His species had ruled 3 spiral arms for 8,000 years. Human Representative Elias Kane, you have been granted 1 cycle. Use it wisely. Laughter rippled across the chamber. Ultrasonic chittering, subsonic rumbling, chemical amusement clouds. The humans had lost badly in their first war. Everyone knew that. Their fleets were crude. Their technology inelegant. Their politics fractured. Their homeworld was ash. Elias Kane raised his eyes. You attacked our home, he said. The translators hesitated. Not because the sentence was complex, but because the emotional gravity behind it exceeded normal parameters. Several species flinched as their empathy receptors spiked. Arbiter HFY Rarval tilted his eye stalks, amused. Clarify, human. The Valorian Dominion conducted a lawful pacification of a hostile system following repeated treaty violations. The planet designated Sol 3. Earth, Kane corrected softly. A few delegates shifted. Some remembered the name. A backwater world. Loud culture. Obsessive art. Disturbing war history. You dropped 12 kinetic lances through our atmosphere, Kane continued. His voice did not rise. That made it worse. You boiled our oceans. You cracked tectonic plates. You turned our sky into fire because your models said we might become inconvenient in 300 years. HFY Rarval spread his mandibles in a diplomatic smile. Preemptive defense is the cornerstone of galactic stability. Your species should be honored. Few are deemed significant enough to. Kane lifted one finger. Every holodisplay in the concourse activated at once. The feeds were not strategic overlays or military simulations. They were home videos. A human child laughing as a dog chased its own tail. A crowded market under a blue sky. Old men playing chess in a park. Lovers arguing over nothing. A planet alive. Then the footage jumped. The sky split. Rods fell from orbit at relativistic speed. Cities vanished in white light. Shockwaves outran sound. Billions died in seconds, their final moments captured by satellites that kept recording long after command centers ceased to exist. Silence crushed the concourse. Several species collapsed. One hive mind severed a drone to stop the pain feedback. Even the Valorians felt something twist uncomfortably in their neural cores. That, Kane said, was not a border correction. HFY Rarval's mandibles twitched. You are here because your species lost the subsequent engagement at Vega. Your remaining fleets are scattered. Your colonies are isolated. By every rational measure, humanity is finished. Kane smiled. It was not a kind smile. You misunderstand why humans fight, he said. We don't do it to win immediately. We do it to make sure the other side never forgets starting it. A murmur spread. Predatory species leaned forward. Scholars frowned. Kane paced slowly, boots echoing in the vast chamber. You saw our navies. You calculated tonnage, weapon yields, logistics. You saw a species that shouldn't have challenged you. He stopped and looked directly at the Arbiter. You didn't study our history. HFY Rarval bristled. History is irrelevant without power. That's where you're wrong, Kane replied. History is a weapons manual written in blood. He gestured, and new data streamed across the displays. Not human warships, but absences. Trade routes that no longer functioned. Hyperlane relays that had gone inexplicably dark in Valorian space over the last 3 weeks. Minor failures. Easy to ignore. You've noticed disruptions, Kane said. You blamed pirates. Internal dissent. Bad maintenance. XYR Val's eye stalks narrowed. Are you confessing to sabotage? No, Kane said. I'm explaining inevitability. The human straightened, voice carrying now, not louder, but heavier. When Earth died, we lost our center. Our politics. Our restraint. Some delegates recoiled. Others leaned in. Humans are dangerous when unified, Kane continued. But we are terrifying when fractured. The Arbiter slammed his forelimb against the armrest. This is theater. You stand here unarmed, surrounded by fleets that could erase your species in a single vote. Kane nodded. True. Then he added, which is why we didn't send a soldier. A pause. We sent a witness. The cracked sphere pin on his chest began to glow faintly. In exactly 17 seconds, Kane said calmly, your primary military archive on Valoria Prime will experience a cascading data failure. No explosion. No warning. Just loss. XYRAVAL barked a sharp command. Data feeds flared as Valorian technicians scrambled. 16. 15. You wouldn't dare, the Arbiter hissed. 13, Kane said. A junior Valorian aide screamed as the first archive node went dark. 10. 9. You attacked our home, Kane repeated, voice like iron driven into stone. This is us knocking on yours. At 0, the concourse screens flickered. And somewhere deep within the Valorian dominion, something irreplaceable vanished forever. The silence that followed was not laughter. It was fear. The Valorian dominion did not panic. That mistake would be written about later, in textbooks compiled by species that survived. At first, the archivists called it a catastrophic systems failure. Ancient data clusters, pre-expansion military doctrine, strategic lineage codes, even the genetic command keys that authenticated noble bloodlines, simply died. No explosion. No malware signature. No enemy fleet in sensor range. Just absence. High Arbiter XYRAVAL ordered calm. Investigations. Quiet purges of junior technicians who looked too nervous. The Dominion had ruled too long to believe a single grieving species could reach into its heart. Meanwhile, the human diplomat returned home. Or what passed for it. Elias Kane stood aboard a converted mining habitat drifting beyond the heliopause of a dead star. The humans called it Graveyard Station. It housed refugees, analysts, veterans, widows, and things the galaxy would never classify properly. A woman approached him, hair streaked with gray, uniform patched more times than it should have been. Admiral Ruth Calder, former commander of the Vega Defense Line. You poke the bear, she said. Council's in chaos. Kane didn't look at her. He was watching a projection of Earth, blue, intact, and possible. Good. Bears thrash before they bleed. Calder crossed her arms. Phase 2 is already moving? Kane nodded once. Across Valorian space, Phase 2 had no name. Humans preferred it that way. It began with logistics. Convoys vanished between systems with no distress calls. Not destroyed, captured. Their crews later reappeared at neutral ports, shaken, unharmed, carrying a single message burned into their cargo manifests. Remember Earth. Valorian admirals tightened patrols. Escorts doubled. Then tripled. It didn't help. Human ships didn't fight fair. They dropped from unconventional vectors, used asteroid shadows, gravitational wakes, even solar flares to mask approach. They struck once, precisely, and left nothing worth retaliating against. No glorious battles. Just erosion. Then came the assassinations. Not flashy. Not public. Governors collapsed during private meals. Fleet coordinators suffered natural, cardiac failures seconds after issuing aggressive orders. A high strategos was found alive but paralyzed, his nervous system rewritten by something that had been hiding in his own medical implants for years. When he finally died, his last recorded words were leaked across the Dominion's internal networks. "They didn't come for our worlds. They came for our confidence." The first Valorian fleet was lost at Carthax. 20 warships jumped to intercept what sensors identified as a single human frigate. The frigate did not flee. It broadcast music, ancient, distorted human war chants layered with static and grief. "This is Valorian Battle Group 7, the flagship hailed. "Power down and prepare for annihilation." The human response crackled through vacuum. "Negative," a calm voice replied. "Prepare for boarding." The frigate accelerated. Straight at them. Valorian gunners fired in disbelief as the human ship ignored evasive doctrine, shrugged off glancing plasma strikes, and rammed the flagship amidships. The collision tore both vessels open. Human marines poured through the breach like something primal, armored in scarred exosuits, wielding weapons designed for close, ugly work. Shotguns thundered. Blades flashed. One marine laughed as a Valorian officer tried to negotiate mid-fight. "You're still talking policy," the marine said, slamming him into a bulkhead. "We're past that." By the time Valorian reinforcements arrived, the human frigate was gone. So was Battle Group 7. The Dominion convened an emergency war council. HFY listened as generals argued for total annihilation. Genocidal solutions. Stellar sterilization of every human-held system. Then a junior analyst spoke, voice trembling. "High Arbiter, our long-range sensors confirm something." HFY turned slowly. "What?" The analyst swallowed. "Human fleets aren't mobilizing." "What?" a general snapped. "We're bleeding ships." "Yes," the analyst said. "But not to a central command." "There is no central command. Human forces are operating independently. Cells. Clans. Mercenary families. Even civilian crews." Silence spread. "They aren't fighting a war," the analyst finished. "They're conducting a vendetta." HFY felt something cold coil in his thorax. A new transmission cut through the chamber. Human origin. Unencrypted. Elias Kane appeared on the hollow, older now, eyes darker. "You keep looking for our capital," he said. "For our throne. For the button you can push to make this stop." He leaned closer to the camera. "We burned those ourselves when Earth died." Behind him, the projection shifted, showing hundreds of human ships emerging from dark space. None matched. None flying the same flag. "You killed our world," Kane said quietly. "Now you get to meet what was holding us back." The transmission ended. Somewhere in Valorian space, a star went dark, not exploded. Shut off. And for the first time in 8,000 years, the Valorian Dominion understood a truth it had never needed before. This enemy wasn't trying to conquer them. It was trying to outlast them. By the third year of the war, the galaxy stopped calling it a war. Wars had fronts. Declarations. Victories that could be pointed to on a map. This was something else. Valorian space had become a lesson written in scars. Trade lanes rerouted themselves out of fear. Neutral systems posted. No Imperial pursuit. Beacons, not to keep humans out, but to warn Valorian ships they would not be protected. Younger species watched carefully, taking notes the way prey learns the habits of a new predator. The Valorian Dominion still possessed more ships. More worlds. More raw firepower. What it no longer possessed was initiative. Every decision carried risk. Every mobilization triggered losses somewhere else. Strike at one human cell, and 3 more answered somewhere entirely different, each with its own style of cruelty. The humans had split. Not by ideology. By grief. Some became raiders, long-haul crews flying patched-together warships that looked more like space western caravans than military craft. They hunted Dominion convoys, stripped them bare, and left mocking graffiti burned into hull plating. This was for Earth. Others became engineers of terror. They stopped targeting ships and started targeting assumptions. They rewrote navigation math so safe jumps became lethal. They seeded entire regions with inert-looking debris that unfolded into killnets only when Valorian transponders passed through. One Valorian admiral raged in private quarters, screaming that the humans were cowards. His personal gravity failed 10 seconds later, turning his body into red mist against the ceiling. And then there were the diplomats. That was the cruelest part. Human envoys appeared in systems long subjugated by the Dominion. Minor species used as labor pools, buffer states, disposable allies. They didn't arrive with ultimatums. They arrived with offers. Trade. Protection. Shared technology. Mutual defense treaties written in plain language instead of legal traps. And sometimes something more dangerous. Friendship. A Valorian intelligence brief classified it as emotional contamination. Mixed crews began appearing. Human freighters staffed by alien engineers. Dominion patrols found themselves facing ships crewed by species they'd ruled for centuries, now flying under human registries, bristling with weapons they'd helped design. One defection broke something fundamental. Lady Threxval, a Valorian noble and regional governor, vanished during a routine inspection tour. 2 days later, her image flooded the Dominion's internal networks. She stood aboard a human vessel, unbound, eyes steady. "I was taught humans were unstable," she said. "Too emotional. Too divided." She inhaled slowly. "You were wrong about why." The broadcast cut to footage of Valorian resource worlds, strip mined, poisoned, their native populations culled or enslaved. "They showed me what we did," Threxval continued. "They showed me Earth." Her final words froze entire fleets in place. "They remember everything. And they forgive nothing." The Dominion struck back harder. They glassed 3 human-held systems in a single cycle. Billions died, refugees, not soldiers. Old Earth tactics. Old Imperial certainty. The human response took 6 weeks. Then the lights went out on Valoria Prime. Not destroyed. Disabled. Power grids failed. Orbital elevators froze in place. Climate control faltered. Billions of Valorians felt hunger, cold, and fear for the first time in living memory. A message echoed across every functioning channel, human encryption unmistakable. "This is mercy." Elias Kane watched the feeds from a dim command room aboard a station with no official name. Admiral Calder stood beside him, jaw tight. "You've got their attention now." Kane didn't look pleased. "We always had it. They just didn't believe we'd use it." The Galactic Concourse reconvened in emergency session. This time, the seats of several ancient powers were empty. A new Valorian delegate stood where HFY Arval once ruled. Younger. Paler. Afraid. "We offer reparations," the delegate said quickly. "Territory. Full recognition of human sovereignty. Shared governance." Kane raised a hand, silencing him. Around the chamber, eyes fixed on the human diplomat, older now, one arm replaced by a blackened prosthetic etched with names instead of serial numbers. "We're not here to negotiate borders," Kane said. "Borders are what you use when you don't understand people." A murmur spread. "You killed our planet," he continued. "But you did us a favor." Shock rippled. "You burned our center," Kane said. "Our illusions. Our excuses." The hollow screens activated. Not weapons. Archives. Human memory vaults opened, petabytes of culture, language, art, music, history. Earth, preserved in brutal detail. From ancient cave paintings to stupid sitcoms. From first footsteps on the moon to the last sunrise over a dying planet. "You thought killing Earth would end us," Kane said quietly. "Instead, you made us portable." Delegates stared as data links offered unrestricted access. "You can erase a world," Kane went on. "But you can't erase a story once it's been told to the stars." He leaned forward, eyes burning with something older than hatred. "We decline your surrender!" The chamber erupted. "You cannot win this!" someone shouted. Kane nodded slowly. "Correct." Then he smiled. "We already survived it." And in that moment, the galaxy began to understand. Humanity wasn't fighting to rule the future. It was fighting to make sure no one ever forgot what happened when you tried to erase it. Decades passed. Centuries, by some measures. The war never truly ended, it evolved. The Valorian dominion survived, but it was a shadow of its former self. Its fleets were intact but cautious, its planets intact but restless. Trade routes avoided them. Younger species whispered lessons into every council chamber: never underestimate a mammal that can laugh while bleeding. Humanity had changed, too. Not rulers. Not conquerors. Not saviors. Humans became something the galaxy had never catalogued. Wardens. Arbitrators. Ghosts that arrived when injustice loomed, when empires overreached, when one species decided another was expendable. Sometimes they negotiated. Sometimes they didn't. Always, they reminded the galaxy that destruction came in many forms, and survival had teeth. Legends grew. Stories of the human diplomat who silenced an empire with a single sentence, of marines who laughed in the face of plasma fire, of vessels patched together from scrap yet lethal beyond comprehension. Old Valorian veterans swore in dimly lit bars that no alien fleet could match human ingenuity when combined with grief, anger, and stubbornness. Elias Kane, older now, walked the silent corridors of his final command station. His body bore scars from battles no one would ever write about. His prosthetic arm carried the etched names of billions who had died on Earth, the last vestiges of a cradle world burned by fear. He had lived to see the galaxy change, not with conquest, but with remembrance. When Kane finally died, it was quiet. No fleets fired salutes. No flags flew at half-mast. But 1,000 species, humans and allies alike, attended. Ships hovered silently above stations, beacons of mourning and respect. Across Valorian space, messages lit screens. Here lies a human who reminded the galaxy that homes are sacred. On his gravestone, carved in every known language, were words the galaxy would remember forever. Here lies a human who reminded the galaxy, homes are sacred. And we never forget who burns them. A young alien child stared at the monument, curiosity and fear intertwined. "Why are humans so terrifying?" An elder beside him whispered softly. "Because when the universe taught them cruelty, they learned resolve." And for the first time in millennia, the stars themselves seemed to respect that truth. Humanity. Yeah.